Sometimes, the kindest hearts belong to those who have the least. He was just a poor teacher, staying late after class, unaware that one simple act of kindness would heal a family shattered by loss. And change his own life forever. That night, he heard soft sobs echoing from the hallway. A little girl, crying alone, clutching a torn sketchbook. He didn't know who she was, or who her father was. But what he did next would touch hearts far beyond that school. Mr. Ethan Miller wasn't the kind of teacher anyone noticed outside class. He drove an old, dented car, wore the same faded shirts, and lived in a tiny one-bedroom apartment. But to his students, he was more than a teacher, he was someone who cared. That evening, after everyone had gone home, Ethan stayed back to finish grading papers. The hallway lights flickered softly when he heard faint crying. He followed the sound and found a young girl, maybe 8 or 9, sitting on the floor by the lockers. Her eyes were red, and she was hugging her backpack tightly. "Hey there," he said softly, crouching beside her. "Are you okay?" She shook her head. "My art project. It's ruined. I'll fail. My teacher already said no excuses." Ethan smiled kindly. "Well, I don't believe in excuses either, only second chances. Come on, let's fix it together." He led her into his classroom, turned on the desk lamp, and handed her fresh paper and markers. Together, they redrew her project, a picture of her family standing under a big oak tree. As she drew, Ethan noticed something missing. "You didn't draw your mom?" he asked gently. Her voice cracked. She passed away last year." Ethan froze for a moment. "I'm sorry," he said softly. "You must really miss her." The little girl nodded silently. Ethan didn't push further. Instead, he offered her some warm cocoa from his thermos and helped her finish the project. When her father's driver arrived, she looked up at Ethan with tear-streaked cheeks and whispered, "Thank you, Mr. Miller. You're the only one who didn't yell at me." He smiled. "No problem, kiddo. Remember, mistakes don't define us, what we do next does." That night, Ethan walked home through the rain, feeling strangely peaceful. He had no idea that the little girl he'd just helped was Lily Carter, the daughter of Daniel Carter, the CEO of Carter Industries, one of the largest construction companies in the state. And a man who hadn't smiled since his wife died. Daniel Carter had everything: power, money, and respect, except happiness. Since losing his wife in a car accident 2 years earlier, he had buried himself in work, leaving his daughter mostly in the care of nannies and drivers. When his driver told him that Lily had been comforted by a teacher after staying late at school, something in him stirred, curiosity, maybe guilt. The next morning, Daniel drove to the school himself. He found Ethan in the teacher's lounge, organizing papers. "Mr. Miller?" Daniel said, extending his hand. "I'm Daniel Carter, Lily's father. I just wanted to thank you for helping her yesterday." Ethan looked a little embarrassed. "She's a wonderful kid. Just needed someone to listen." Daniel nodded slowly. She hasn't smiled like that in a long time. Over the next few weeks, Lily began talking about Mr. Miller constantly, how he made learning fun, how he told her that art could heal sadness. Daniel started visiting the school more often. At first, it was to drop off donations or supplies. But eventually, it was just to talk to Ethan. One afternoon, while sitting in the school garden, Daniel confessed, "I don't know how to connect with her anymore. Ever since her mom died, I've been lost." Ethan nodded. "You don't need to have all the answers. Just be there. Kids don't need perfect parents, they just need someone who listens with their heart." Those words stayed with Daniel. He began spending real time with Lily, helping her paint, eating dinner together, reading bedtime stories again. Slowly, laughter returned to their house. And Daniel noticed something else: every time he talked to Ethan, he felt lighter, calmer, more human. A few months later, Daniel invited Ethan to an annual company gala. Ethan was reluctant, feeling out of place among suits and champagne. But Daniel insisted. "You gave my daughter back her smile," he said. "You belong there more than anyone." That night, surrounded by hundreds of guests, Daniel took the stage. Everyone expected a corporate speech. But instead, he pointed toward Ethan. "This man," Daniel said, "taught my daughter something I never could, that kindness is stronger than grief. He reminded me that the smallest act of care can change a life." The room went silent. Then, applause erupted. Ethan stood awkwardly, humbled and teary-eyed. Later that week, Daniel offered Ethan a new role: director of the Carter Foundation's educational programs, to help underprivileged kids across the state. Ethan's voice trembled. "Mr. Carter, I didn't help your daughter expecting anything in return." Daniel smiled warmly. "That's exactly why you deserve everything." Months later, Ethan stood in a new classroom, freshly painted, filled with smiling children from low-income families. The project was funded entirely by the Carter Foundation. Little Lily ran up to him holding a painting. "Mr. Miller, I made this for you." It showed three people standing under a big oak tree, her father, her mother smiling from the sky, and Mr. Miller holding her hand. Ethan stared at it, his eyes misty. Sometimes, one small act of kindness can heal a broken heart. He was just a poor teacher who helped a crying girl, but in doing so, he helped a father rediscover love, a child rediscover joy, and himself rediscover purpose. Because in the end, kindness always wins.